Happy Friday. Welcome to a new episode of Wind Down Fridays. I'm Shirley with bellandblessed.com. Today I have the wonderful Savannah. This is my dear cousin and girlfriend, and we will be discussing mental health. So I'm so excited for everyone joining. Savannah, is that you?
That's me.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you doing?
Okay, it's going good, girl. It's been a very long week, so I'm
Yeah,
excited that it's Friday, okay?
absolutely. Trust me.
Yes. And the week actually flew by for me. I don't know if it was the same for you. Usually it doesn't. I don't know. This week
Yeah,
I feel like maybe because I was so busy at work.
yeah. This week
Okay.
this week dragged for me. It dragged.
Really? See, that's usually how I feel. So
Yeah,
I don't
it
know
was a
what was
rough
up this
one.
week. Really? Oh gosh. Well, first, let me preface by saying I usually have a glass of wine. Do you have wine or anything you're sipping on?
I actually had some hot tea because I feel like a little cold coming on. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna wind down with some tea instead tonight.
Listen, hot tea is good for the soul, girl, especially when you feel a
Yeah,
cold. You have to get ahead of it. So I don't blame you. Okay, well, thank you
absolutely.
so much for joining me tonight. As I wanted you to come on to discuss the topic of mental health, the reason being because recently you came out with a post that I feel like was very inspiring. And I started following you on TikTok, and I see you're kind of going on the same rhythm there. So
Yeah.
I just want the audience to learn more about Savannah, who you are, why you're passionate about this field. I like to always sprinkle some spirituality in there, self-care. So we'll get all to that about how you balance it all because you have a lot going on and you seem to be balancing it really well. So I think it's always great for people that align with you to see what's helping you and, how you can help us boss babes to stay balanced because it's so important.
So, as Shirley so graciously introduced me, I'm Savannah, but I do go by Savienka. I'm a mother of two beautiful boys. I'm a special education teacher. I work in a SIDPID classroom currently, so severe, profound intellectual disabilities.
Mm.
I'm a lover of Christ. I'm a praise team leader at my church. I'm just, living my life, trying to make it through, just trying to find the right ways that work for me, trying to please God in everything that I do. I'm a free spirit, very outgoing, but as I'm getting older, that free spirit is getting tired. So she's calming down a bit. She's calming down just a bit because she's tired. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me. I recently started a YouTube page, so just about my life as a mother, just who I am, the different just things that I face, trials, tribulations, and the testimonies. So I just started that. So I'm just trying to put myself out there, not something that I'm used to. So I'm definitely stepping out of my comfort zone, which is very new for me. But so far, so good. I'm learning a lot about myself. So, yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Okay, well, that's so good. I'm happy that you joined me. And as you just listed 10,000 different things. So it's a lot. Listen, I don't have kids yet. And I always say, like, after a long day, I'm like, I don't know what I would do if I had kids because it's so much for me to take care of myself and go through the motions of life. So I commend women that are mothers and like you have to balance it all. You don't have a choice. You just continue to press on. That's
Right.
so super important. And I did want
Absolutely.
to touch some on your post that you came out with when what inspired you to make that post about mental health? And even if you can give the audience a little context of what the video was about and maybe
Of
give some
course.
more context of what you do for a living, because I know dealing with children with developmental disabilities, I mean, when you look at mental
Yeah,
health, that is a big toll on your mental health and
absolutely.
your patience and your passion for that. So I'd love to hear more about
Absolutely.
that.
Of course. So let's see. So the post, in short, was basically me explaining that, mental health should not be stigmatized and taking medications for mental health should not be stigmatized. Basically, I compared or use the analogy of type 1 and type 2 diabetes. You know how with one form of diabetes, you can just change your diet, do a little exercise, lessen your sugar intake, and then you'll be fine. But with the other diabetes, I don't remember which one it is now because now I'm going to get confused. But with the other diabetes, your pancreas is not producing enough insulin. So you have to take medication to help your body process the sugar or produce enough insulin to process the sugar. So that was me using that analogy the same way for mental illness. You know, some forms of mental illness, you know, you can make little changes in your life and it will help the situation. But there's other forms where you may need some medical assistance because you're not producing enough serotonin or dopamine or norepinephrine to help your body stabilize, you know, your emotions and your mental health and your mentality and things like that, your psyche. So that's where that was coming from. And it came to me randomly. It came to me the day before because I've always been a advocate of mental health and medication, but I've never spoken on it really. And because I never knew the right way to even speak about it. But literally the day before I dropped the post, I was just driving and God just dropped in my spirit like diabetes. It's the same thing. So that was a way for me to bring it around so that others could kind of understand because in our society, mental illness and mental illness medication use is so stigmatized. It's like, how are they going to get this to see that it's just not what they think it is? Like, it doesn't mean you need to be in a loony bin. It doesn't mean you need to have padded walls or in a straitjacket. You know what I mean? Like, you just need a little medication, you know, a little therapy, CBT, something that can help you manage. So that's where that came from. You know, like I said earlier, I am a teacher in a SIDPID classroom, a special needs classroom. But before, I've been doing this for about 18 months. And before this, I was working with children with autism, doing behavior therapy. Before that, I was a group home site supervisor for adults with mental illness. So I've seen it all. I've been in this field for about 9 years. So I've seen it all from adults to children to mental illness to developmental disabilities, like the whole spectrum of it all. And then I've experienced my own, you know, bouts with mental illness. So all of those experiences kind of shaped my thinking, especially coming from a West Indian back home, African American, background, Christian background. All of the combination of being that, you know, it was a little bit stigmatized. Oh, just pray it out. Just pray it away. You know what I mean? Like, God will take care of it. And it's like, yes, I know He can, but God also did create the doctor and the medication and the therapy. You know what I mean? So maybe that's how God wants me to handle this. You know what I mean? So
listen,
that's
you said a word, and it's funny because before you got to that, I was actually going to bring that up next. That being Caribbean, being Christian, I also grew up in a Christian household. And for those that don't know, me and Savannah are actually related by marriage. So your grandmother is my uncle by marriage's sister. So it's kind of like two marriages on both sides, but I still consider her family. I too, you know, we're Caribbean, Christian, and I too have had that struggle of, pray about it, or the latter where it's like, you have nothing to be depressed about. You have everything. You have food. You have a house over your head. You're smart. You're beautiful. And I think there is a very big disconnect when it comes to age. So, you know, our parents, which more consider baby boomers and immigrated here, you know, as, you know, immigrants coming from Haiti, coming to America, I feel like, and I do try to align with the fact their struggles were different. I think growing up in Haiti and the way they did, I know my mother had a lot of struggles that she doesn't talk about, but she alludes to a lot. It was very hard in Haiti. So I do align with them when they say, listen, you don't know what I went through. So I feel like them growing up, they didn't even have time to tackle their mental health. It was just survival.
Right.
But I also think that does not mean that they cannot learn to understand, because I think where some have missed the mark, I'll say, is just trying to bridge that gap, you know, because they didn't know better. So they didn't know about medication. They didn't know about therapy. They didn't know about social work. They didn't know about the resources because they tapped into their spirituality and they felt like, well, that's what got me through and I've been through worse. and you should be able to do the same. But they don't realize that we are growing up in different times, and growing up in America is a completely different struggle than and I don't want to compare it to growing up in Haiti. I don't think you can even compare the two for the struggles that you have. But growing up in America is also not easy. And growing up Black, and then you grow up with stigmatism. You just grow up with a lot. You just struggles. Everyone has their own challenges, because you can grow up in a perfect situation and still have mental health issues. Right. And then you grow up, like you said, being African American, a lot of times there is stigma. And I think part of the stigma is just truly not understanding that it's okay to have mental illness, that it's okay to not be okay. I think like us as Black women especially, we are taught to forge ahead. We're taught being strong is like the ultimate factor. We can do it all. You're a superwoman. You can handle it all. And I don't believe in that. I'm sorry. As I get older, I'm like, no, when I have to retreat, if I have to call out and take a mental health day, if I have to sit in bed for the day, if I have to just put my phone on D&D and not be engaged with the world for a day or two, like, I give myself that grace, because at the end of the day, as Black women, I think we have to show up more for ourselves. And that's maybe part of the reason why we go through mental health issues, is because we tend to put ourselves last. Like we almost grow up with this idea that we have to be the superwoman. You have to take care of your family. You have to show up, even at work. How many times are you not feeling your best, but you're there with a smile, inside, you're going through it, you pray all day, you're trying to forge ahead, but you just don't feel up to it. And I look at other women that I work with of other cultures, and they'll be the first ones to be like, yeah, I'm taking a mental health day today. Or I'm taking it tomorrow. I'm taking off for 3 days. I'm going on this vacation. I'm going away with my husband. I've been stressed. Like, I just feel like other women that I've come into contact with, they're very open with it. And they're very open to tapping into resources, whether it's therapy, whether it's a friend, whether it's medication. And for some reason, we're the only race that is like lagging behind in it. And what is your take on that, as far as we know the issues, right? But how in your life do you show up for yourself, and how do you mix that with self-care, spirituality? Like, what does Savianka do to overcome those, not, I wouldn't say mental health issues, but, those times that you're just not yourself? Yeah.
So let me tell you, I am the queen of mental health days. I am the queen of, I need a minute. I have not always been that girl, but as I'm getting older, I'm realizing how important it is. So I will take off of work with the quickness. You understand me? Like, I don't care who has to cover. I don't care how many substitutes you have to call. I'm not coming because I'm not well. You know what I mean? That's just where I'm at now. I wasn't always that way, and because of that, I suffered way too much when I didn't need to, especially because we are so replaceable in the workplace. You know what I mean? If you were to drop dead today, they're gonna have a substitute for a few weeks, and then have a new teacher, and they might send an email about your passing. They might. You know what I mean?
Or send flowers to the funeral home.
And flowers to your children, and then what? And then what happens after that? You know what I mean? So I refuse to let a job kill me. And if you let them, they will. They will run you ragged. So I take off of work when I need to. I go in late when I need to. I try to do things a bit differently because I'm a single mother. I have to be very frugal. So self-care does not look like, going out to eat, going to the spa, things like that. For me, self-care is like not going to work, but my kids still going to school, and then I'm home all day alone and it's quiet. You know what I mean? And I'll paint my nails. I get to wake up, drink my coffee, watch a sermon from someone, that I've been meaning to watch, or get to catch up on my shows. I like to watch like baking shows and cooking shows. I don't know why they're just so exciting to me.
Soothing.
I'll binge watch all the shows, you know what I mean? And I'm like just watching them and just all into it, you know what I mean? It's quiet in the home. I get to yell at the TV on my shows, you know what I mean? I get to blast music. Like, I'm really into, like, enjoying the space that I've created in my home, you know what I mean? I'm grateful. Yeah, I'm grateful for my home. I love it. So I spend a lot of my time here. But spending my time here when the children aren't here is next level. Like, it's so good. When the kids aren't here, the home is clean and quiet. What? Yeah. So that's
Well,
what
do
was
you
like.
get to relax when they go to sleep?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like even yesterday, like I told you earlier, I had such a rough week this week. Like Monday night, Tuesday night, I got no sleep at all. Lennox, my little one, was just not sleeping. So that started off my week very rough. So I've been trying to play catch up the whole week. And
Oh,
yesterday,
wow.
I literally felt like my drive from work is only 15 minutes, and I felt like I couldn't make it home. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
wow.
And so when I got home, I decided, like, okay, I'm not going to pick up Gabe from aftercare. I'm going to let him stay at aftercare until they're about to close. And I came home and I napped for 3.5 hours. You know what I mean? Like,
Wow.
I know he would have rather to come home, but sometimes you have to put you first. Because if
Yeah.
he came home and I tried to nap, it'd be, Mom, can I have this? Mom, can I have that? Can we go there? Can we do, you know what I mean? I would not have gotten a nap. And I still had to do stuff with him in the evening, so I had to get that little 3-hour nap, or I wouldn't have been able to even show up for him later. You know what I mean? So definitely just,
Wow.
I got to put me first, Lucius.
Listen, I gotta put me first, Lucius. And I wanted to ask you, ever feel mom guilt? I've heard about mom guilt. Do you ever feel like guilty doing that?
Yes. Mom guilt, I honestly almost put a post about that this week and I didn't. Like, mom guilt is so real. And sometimes I feel like mom guilt could be good. It could just be used as an indicator to keep you from being selfish. You know what I mean? If it's used properly and if it's analyzed properly. But if you're not analyzing it properly, or if you're over analyzing, mom guilt is just something that can really tear you down. Like, I will feel guilty about the most ridiculous things, like going out after work to have a margarita and nachos when I know Gabe likes nachos. I'm like, oh, that was so good. Like, girl, she'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like, little things like that. And then there's, like, the bigger issues where, for instance, oh, this is good. It was last week. I was getting Gabe ready for school, and I guess I was just tired and snappy. So I'm, like, rushing him, and he's moving so slow. Kids move so slow sometimes. I'm like, oh, my God.
I already know
So
my
I'm like,
nephews. I'm like,
you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, let's move. I'm being gentle. I'm struggling inside, but I'm keeping it cute outside. You know what I mean? And then I go into the car. I'm waiting for him, and I'm in the car, and he's in the house. So I yelled, and I said, hurry up. But I was yelling because I was in the car, and he's in the house, not with an attitude. And he, like, raised his voice. I was like, I'm coming. You know what I mean? So, like, I kind of lost it a little bit. You know what I mean? And I was like, who are you yelling at? Not this nicely, of course. I was like, who are you yelling at, and carrying on? And, it's 7:30 in the morning, by the way. Not even 7:30, 7:15 probably, because bus hasn't even come yet. And to the point my neighbor was like, girl, too early to be doing all that yelling. Like, my neighbor.
yeah.
Yeah, she's like, it's not too much. It's too early for this. Because, because I was exhausted, because I was tired, you know what I mean? So I didn't even get to see him off to school in the right way. So then I ended up texting a lady at his school who I'm pretty close with, and I said, can you go find Gabe and apologize to him for me? And she was like, are you serious? I said, I'm very serious, because mom guilt was eating me up. You hear me? So in a situation like that, I feel like mom guilt was good, because, yes, he did raise his voice, but as the adult, I was supposed to maintain, my self-control and my voice, my tone, even if he's stepping out of line, because he's a child. He doesn't have the same impulse control that I do. You know what I mean? So I shouldn't have gone down to his level. So mom guilt in that aspect, yes, apologize to your child, reach out to him in whatever way you can. And, his day was great. But if I didn't have that mom guilt, I wouldn't have given him that apology. And then he would have, like, his day would have been, like, just different. The trajectory would have been different, because his mom sent him off to school pretty much being yelled at 7:15 in the morning. Like, who wants to start their day like that? Children don't deserve that. So, yeah, mom guilt can be good and bad,
But that's good with self-reflection, right? Because, like you said, you had that moment. You have to check in and say, okay, I'm projecting. I'm going through it. Let me come in and apologize to him. And I think you're actually setting him up to learn, like, emotional intelligence, because my parents never apologized to me. Like, how many times did I get blacked on, or we get blacked on? And it's like, okay, they go about their day. So I think you're establishing a really good pattern of, checking in with yourself. And sometimes that's all it takes. I think when it comes down to mental health as well, learning just to self-reflect. At times I check in with myself. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a certain way. What's going on? Like, it's either I'm upset, I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed, I'm overstimulated. Like, let me get in check with myself. Because if you go on autopilot, that's what happens. You do actions or you say things and you have to retract it. Because when you are in a better space of mind, you're like, okay, I was doing the most. Like, honestly, I was doing the most. Let me tone it down. And in the same breath, I think it's also so important to give yourself grace, right? I think a lot of us, and speaking on a spiritual basis, I tend to look at life on a more spiritual basis only because I know that we're spiritual on a human journey. So a lot of the things that I endure or people I come across or nonsense, it's just like, is it worth it? Like sometimes to me, it's a good thing. Sometimes it can be bad because sometimes you do give grace to situations that you should react or you should show people who you are so that they won't take advantage of you. But the latter of that, a lot of situations I tend to be like, okay, it's not that serious. Like if I'm anxious for 30 minutes to an hour, it's going to pass, and I've learned that in reading and just doing my own inner work. A lot of the ways to get through it is to go through it. And a lot of people, I think, when you look at anxiety and you may, and I'm not going to look down on medicine and I'm not going to look down on healthcare because these practitioners are only doing what they're told, right? Like they're doctors, they went to school for something, they studied it, they will look at a textbook and say, you're having this symptom, then try this. But I do think sometimes, depending on the person and the severity of the issue, folks are just not comfortable enough to sit in their feelings. So the minute that they feel that overwhelm, they feel that anxiety, they feel that pressure, they just want something to just release it. It's like, I don't want to deal with this. I want to just take something for me to forget it. But I think what happens is, in doing that, that doesn't take away the feeling, So you may be taking away the remnants of it. So if you get agitated or you get frustrated or you get emotional, that may be masking it. But those issues that you're experiencing in the first place never go away. So I think it's important to check in with yourself, go through it as uncomfortable as it is. And I've learned this so much to the point now. I just deal with it. I'm going, and I think that's the definition of going through it. Like you're just aligning with that emotion. And I think the more you align with it, the easier it is for it to pass. Because it's like, okay, I'm going through it. I align with it. All right, let's rock it. Let's push through. Let's just forge ahead. And I think being spiritual and being religious, we have an advantage because we do have someone that we could pray to. And I always say that being a Christian, to me, that's the ultimate, factor. And the best thing about it is like, I don't have to go through it alone. Like I have someone that I could pray to, and even the Holy Spirit could come and that feeling is gone. I can pray about it. I could pray to overcome it. Sometimes God will put those feelings on you because he's trying to reveal something to you or he wants you to get stronger. But I personally think that is the most beautiful thing about having faith is that, even when you're going through it, it's going to pass. That it's not the end. That we're human, we're, spirits on a human journey. All this is going to come to an end one day. So it just gives me a sense of peace, and I'm not one to ever put down anyone else's religion or what they think. There are atheists out there that don't believe in anything. My thing is believe in yourself. You may not have to believe in a higher power, but believe in something. Believe in hope. Believe in faith. Believe things are going to get better. Believe in positivity. Everything does not have to come back to a spiritual basis for other people. For me, that's what works. But folks that don't believe in anything, I'm nervous because I'm like, how do you make it? Especially these days, in this ghetto 2023, girl, it's January. And look how much has happened.
Already.
Come on. It's like, how do you, the people that don't have it, those are the ones that I pray for because I'm just like, I don't know how they're doing it because I'm hardly, I'm struggling at times and I have the faith and I have the tools. So I think, when you look at mental health in America, and, look at this story I just seen, the 6-year-old that brought a gun to school and shot the teacher. Like, really? Jesus. 6 years old? Like, come on. Like, you are telling me that there is not a crisis in this country when it comes to mental health, when it comes to violence, when it comes, it's so much that I don't even, we could be here all night talking about that.
All night.
But when it comes to having faith, that is my strong point. And it is great that, you can tap into that. And also, I want to ask, like, how does your village play a part? Do you feel like you have help? Do you feel like it's
Girl,
makes you better?
girl. When I tell you, I would be busted and disgusted if I didn't have my village.
Not busted and disgusted, girl.
Busted and disgusted. Because the only reason outside of God, Jesus, my Lord and Savior, okay, outside of God, my family has, I mean, I almost don't have any words. I almost don't have any words. Like, even tonight, like, for instance, I have two boys. I'm like, I got to do this podcast. Mom, can you pick up Lennox on your way home from work? Yeah, no problem. I mean, she didn't hesitate, sir. She didn't hesitate. Just so I can have a quiet moment to do this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And my dad, he gets Gabe ready for school every morning.
Wow.
Because I have to be at work at 6:30. Gabe's bus doesn't come till 7:15, 7:20. So how does that work? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
My dad gets my child ready for school every morning. That morning when I yelled at him was the one day I was home because I had another appointment. And I know he was like, dang, I wish Papa was here because why is he yelling at me? My dad don't yell at him every morning. You know what I mean? Like, my sister, if I have anything to do, if I don't have a babysitter, she's always here. She works from home, so she always makes herself available to sit here with my kids and do whatever needs to be done. I'm talking about they come over, help me fold my laundry. I have friends that come over, help me clean my house. I have friends that just show up for me, even from other states, sending me things that I may have mentioned that I needed. I wasn't asking for it. I was just talking, you know what I mean? And it shows up at my doorstep. You know what I mean? My village is crazy, and I know it's from God, and I promise you it's from God because this is nothing that I'm ashamed of. I've spoken about it before, but just not publicly. But when I was pregnant with Gabe, I was 19, and I was going to get an abortion. And it didn't work out beginning because I was too far along, so I had to do they had to take it another step. And basically before that appointment, I had a dream, and I woke up from the dream, and I heard God tell me so loud and so clear, if you keep my child, if he called Gabe his child, he said, if you keep my child, I will take care of you both.
Wow.
He said that to me.
That's amazing.
And so I kept Gabe. I did not have the abortion, obviously. And literally ever since that day, God has shown up for me in so many ways. I don't have enough time to go down the list. But my village was one of the ways he showed up for me because a lot of people that I know who are mothers, and not just single mothers, I'm talking about mothers, women who are married, they don't have the support that I have. You know what I mean? They don't have that support. So I'm extremely blessed and fortunate to have this amazing village. And that's half the reason why I'm able to be as mentally stable as I am now. Because I know for a fact I'd be a loon. If I didn't, because it's hard, Shirley. It's so hard. It's hard with support. I can't imagine how hard it is without. You know what I mean?
Listen, that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, but you brought up a good point, and that's, I think, what it's so hard that people don't understand when it comes to mental health. And I used to hate it, like when mother would say stuff like that, or just, the older generation Haitian people, like, you can have it all and still not be in a good place. So, like you just said, you have so much support. You have it all. You have your faith. You have your family. You have a job. You have a home. Like, you have all those things, and sometimes life can get the best.
Still struggling.
Or you'll just be in a place, like you said, it's just like busted and disgusted. Even when you have it all, you just don't feel right. You just don't feel aligned. You don't feel great. You feel anxious. You may feel depressed for a season. And it's okay, because the great thing about it is that is when you can tap into your village, and I feel like that's when people show up the most. So that's such a blessing, because they may take the kids for a day. You may just have that 1 hour to 2 hours where you can pray, you can tap into yourself. And I love what you said about the frugal thing, because with these days, girl, I don't even have kids. Like, I always have to go back to this point because I'm struggling. I don't have kids. Okay, I was a single girl doing it on my own, and I'm sitting here going to the grocery store today. I literally did a light shopping, came out to like $50+. And I mean, I got a pack of chicken, salmon. I mean, little things. And I'm just like, I can imagine people. I mean, my sister has three boys. So I can imagine when you have a family, how much you really have to cut back and put yourself last sometimes. But I love you brought up the point that it's not about money. It's about tapping into yourself, whether it's painting your nails, whether it's just sitting home in your own space, watching a sermon, drinking a glass of wine, peace. Yeah. Even just not having someone speaking to you all day and asking for things. Like, you don't have that, you know?
Yeah. That right there is the biggest for me, because at work, I'm basically a mom again. And so the kids, I mean, they touching me. They want my attention. They're crying for hugs. Mind you, I'm in high school, right? I'm working in a high school. But because of the special needs, you know, they're functioning at a much lower level. So it's essentially like taking care of babies. So, I mean, down to changing diapers. Like, I'm changing adult diapers. So my body is physically tired. My mind is tired. My just drained. They're crying. I have to feed them. I mean, it's legitimately being a mother again. Then I come home, and then I have to be present for my kids. And I'm like, I was just with someone else's kids for 8 hours crying, and now I'm here with this. You know what I mean? It's
double the work.
It's a lot. It's a lot. So if you are not intentional about setting time apart for yourself, you will not make it. And then if you're not intentional about, especially if you have that belief in God, if you're not intentional about tapping in, you will not make it. I'm telling you, like I said yesterday, it was so rough for me. So I was so intentional about just getting in my word this morning. I'm like, today is not going to be like yesterday. It's not. It can't be. It can't be. No. So I'm reading my word, watching a good sermon that just uplifted my spirit. And then I just prayed. I write my prayers down because I have a short attention span. So I have to write my prayers in the journal to keep me like on track. And so before I know it, 20 minutes go by. And that's 20 minutes of silence. That's 20 minutes in God's presence. You know what I mean? That's 20 minutes of constant communication with Him, outside of the constant communication that I have throughout the day in my heart and things like that in my mind. But just actually taking time apart to just seek Him. You know what I mean? Yeah. And one of the things that I asked God for in the prayer, I wrote that prayer today at maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock, and by 3:30 He answered that prayer. I'm lying you not.
Wow.
By 3:30 today. So it's sometimes we just take a minute just to align with Him. I realize is when things get better. So this week has been rough for me personally, because I was out of alignment. I wasn't in my word as much as I should be. I was filling my time with things that were not of Him. You know what I mean? And so that's happens and why I was so out of alignment. I'm like, this week was so rough. Why? Nothing's changed. Nothing's going on. No, I just have not been in God's presence enough. You know what I mean? And so that's why I'm able to pull myself back so quickly with the help of God, of course, because I mean it's all about Him, you know. And so
and you know what? That's how He keeps us connected to Him. I think He knows that we fall short, and if we had the answers, we'd be going along our day. Just if nothing was there to like reel us back, we just wouldn't need Him. You know, we would go on. So I think that's how He keeps connected to us, and that's great. That you can self-reflect again and say, you know what? No, something's out of alignment. Let me get back in place. And that's just the beauty of life to me. You know, like I was just watching a T.D. Jakes sermon this week, and it's just the verse. I don't remember the actual verse, but just not about worrying about the troubles tomorrow. Like the trouble is going to come tomorrow. Focus on today. And that's always been so big to me. Yeah. What is it?
Yeah. Matthew 6, probably.
Okay. But when I read it, or when I was listening to it, at that moment, I was literally worrying about the next day. Like, what's going to happen with this? I have this project. I need to do this. I need to meet with these people. Just feeling literally out of alignment. And when that came on the screen, I was just like, you know what? He never fails. And it wasn't something I prayed about. It was just on my spirit. It was on my heart. I caught myself, and I was just like, okay, but you know, you ruminate, and your brain is filled with all this nonsense. But when I seen that, I was like, you know what? It's just that gentle reminder that gives me that peace, that he's already meeting you tomorrow. Like, he already
Yeah.
knows what's going to happen tomorrow. He knows what's going to happen next week, next month, next year. Let me just get through today. Okay, girl. And I love that. That's what I just keeps me focused, is like, I need to live for this moment, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
We don't.
And it gives me peace, to know that if something happens tomorrow, he's already there. He's already helped me to get through it. He's equipping me with the tools. So I think it's just amazing. And we are coming up on time. So I have this book called 180 Bible Verses for Conquering Anxiety, Devotions for Women. And I actually flipped to this page before we started talking. So I did briefly just want to state this for anyone that is suffering with anxiety, or just in these uncertain times that we're living in, that just needs a word. It starts out by saying he will always take care of you. When calamity comes, they will escape with their dignity. When famine invades the nation, they will be fed to their fill. And this is Psalms chapter 37, verse 19. And it just says, let's settle this right here and now. The Lord will always take care of you. It's a promise. Your current situation may look bleak, but God is tracking with it. The future may seem unsettling, but he is already working things out for your good. Maybe you can't help but feel things are dark and desperate in some key relationships, but God will strengthen you and offer peace. He will be there to rescue you. He will save you. The Lord knows all the things that stress you and that cause sleepless nights, and every time you cry out to him, he hears you and promises to answer. Don't waste any more time with worry. Don't entertain anxiety. Instead, go right to the Lord. He's waiting. And I just love that. When I read that, and just with us talking today, I feel like this pretty much summed up everything that we discussed with mental health, spirituality. And I'm just so happy that you came on tonight, because just us talking, I had a crazy week as well. So it just really helped bring another definition to wind down.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
I appreciate you, girl. And I hope you enjoyed your time as well. Can you just tell folks where to find you? Thank you. On your YouTube, Instagram. Oh, you're more than welcome, girl. Anytime. And when you want to come back, listen.
Yes, of course. So my Instagram is at Savianka. So that's SAVI .ANKA. And my YouTube is Savianka the same way, or you can type in, let me not draw blanks. You can type in Savianka the same way, it'll come in, but if you type in SAVIANKA Grace, that will come up as well, Savianka Grace. So,
and your mom, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying you can find me there, and that's pretty much all I have for now, yeah.
And I was just going to add that I know your mother has a church, so if you want to plug that out to the folks that are in Georgia.
In Georgia, of course, yes. So we are at Alive Christian Center in Marietta, Georgia. We have church every Saturday at 11 a.m. sharp. You can find us at 1588 Willie Drive. Once again, that's 1588 Willie, Willie Drive, Marietta, Georgia, 30062. And we will be so happy to have any new visitors, any guests. We are growing, but it is so full of love. And it's really some true worshipers in there. Like, we really just love God. So come see us whenever you're in Georgia. We would love to have you.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Savannah. It was so great speaking to you tonight. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, girl. Continue your path of self-care. Don't let those kids drive you crazy. They're so adorable. I know sometimes it doesn't feel like it when you're up all night, but I'm sure you look at their beautiful faces, and they're so happy. I love their relationship together, too. So that's cute.
Thank you so much. Thank you again. I appreciate what you're doing.
You're welcome, love. Have a great evening. Take care.
All right. You as well. Bye.
All right. And thank you, everyone, for tuning into a new episode of Wind Down Fridays. This will be up tomorrow on YouTube. Please join us again next week for a new episode of Wind Down Fridays. I'm Shirley at bellandbless.com. Take care.